now we have to hear from them.
Okay.
And who knows what they'll do? I mean, I don't know what they'll do.
When is this Bill 63?
Oh,
is that what it's called?
It's
Bill
Bill
C-63?
C-63. It's creaking its way through the parliamentary process now, but it's already gone through first reading.
But this re-education is going to happen before that passed, right? Because you're not going back into Canada to do that after that bill is passed.
Yeah, well, that's a problem.
Seriously.
Yeah,
I don't trust these countries.
No. It's definitely the case that if Bill C-63 passed,
you'd be in so much trouble.
Oh, my life would be unlivable in Canada because like 50 activists would weaponize it instantly. Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. And so if Canadians want to live under a society governed by the worst of all possible snitches, then yay, man, just don't pay any attention to Bill C-63 and you'll get what you hope for.
What should people do? Like, because
wake up.
But up and do what? Because people are already, if you're in Canada, you can't see certain news. You can't see news. Like North Korea is just like not available in your country. Ridiculous.
Yep.
That's already happening. I don't think people who live there, like not everyone can pick up and move. What are they supposed to do at this point? Just talk about it? Talk about it.
Well,
like your neighbors and your friends?
What people have to do is they have to take control over the political system again.
But how? How?
They have to run for the school board, for example, and take the school boards back from the progressives. All of these intermediary institutions, they call it the deep state in the United States. And there's plenty of talk about the deep state in the United States and not nearly enough talk about the deep state in Canada. I think Trudeau's increased the federal bureaucracy by 45% since he took office. And so...
What does that mean? The number of people working?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, that's for sure. So
you didn't get involved politically and talk.
Get involved politically.
Like, don't stay quiet.
Well, all you young people out there in Canada who have developed a certain appreciation for classic liberal values and maybe some more traditional conservative values, you've got a responsibility. It's like, get out there and clean it up, join a party, run for school board, run for town council. Many of the cities in Canada are hyper woke. Many of them are members of the C40 City Consortium. They're a wonderful group. So no one knows this either, but you might as well know. So 40 of the biggest cities in the world, I know Edmonton is one of them, even though Edmonton, Alberta is probably not one of the biggest cities in the world. 40 of the larger Western cities, Western civilization cities, have joined this C40 Consortium. And so what are its goals? 95% reduction in private automobile ownership. That's one goal. 3 articles of clothing per person per year.
New?
Yep. 1 short haul flight per person every 3 years. And a radical reduction in meat and dairy consumption. So basically, we're headed to the vegan world. Now, the vegans are thrilled about that. Well, they shrivel up and get all sick.
Sarcopenia.
Yeah. So that's the C40 Consortium. Now,
What is that? Who runs that?
That's the 15-minute. It's a group of cities.
But like,
40
how
cities.
did they get together? Who runs that?
Satan.
Yeah,
basically. I don't know. Probably Klaus Schwab's
something like that.
Chauffeur or something. I don't know who runs it.
How does this just start? Just people from each city come together and they're like, let's do something evil together?
Yeah. So the C40 Consortium, they're a lot of fun. Yeah, that's the 15-minute city people. And that was so interesting too, because the 15-minute city movement was actually kind of an interesting architectural and city planning movement to begin with. The idea was we should return to something like towns where, your community, that could be your block of McMansions, let's say, has a bar and a church.
It's kind of nice, actually.
Yeah. You want a downtown, right? You want a downtown, a center of your town, and the town arranged around it so that you don't have to drive everywhere. And you can walk there. You can walk there. That's very, very different than you have to walk there. Well, it went from you can walk there to you have to walk there in about 15. It's like, people don't need cars. People don't need to fly. People don't need clothes. People don't need to eat meat. People don't need dairy. It's like, fuck you. No, I'm seriously. You petty tyrants, you would control everything. And you think about Europe, you just think about this. What would happen to Europe if people only went on one short haul flight every 3 years? Okay, all the towns would die because they're all supported by tourists. All those beautiful old places, done. All the coastal cities, done. The whole hotel industry, done. All the cafes, over with. All the street culture, done.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
multiculturalism, gone.
Yeah. Well, how?
That's not, they don't have, I don't understand what kind of power, like this isn't going to happen though. Although I did hear, I don't remember, I was on X, it was some state talking about cars and taking away cars. I don't know if you saw that.
Well, you know, the net zero types are agitating. So look, the net zero types agitate for electric vehicles, but they know perfectly well that there isn't enough electricity to run an electric vehicle for everyone. It isn't even close. We don't have the grid for it. And we don't have the technology to produce that much electricity with renewables, that's for sure, because guess what? The spot price of electricity spikes towards infinity when it's nighttime and the wind isn't blowing. And so that's a big problem. But the solution to the fact that there's not enough electricity on the renewable front is just that people don't need cars. Yeah. So this idea that everybody will have an electric car and that's how we'll get green, it's like, that's not the plan, folks. The plan is you, peasant, you don't need a car. Nobody needs their own private transportation. What does need mean? We'll go to public transportation. It's like no one takes public transportation if their time is worth more than minimum wage.
Or if they can afford not to.
Well, the reason is most of that's just a matter of pure efficiency. It's like if your time is worth anything, you don't waste it on public transportation. And so public transportation, especially the way that it's offered now, is basically only accessible to a small minority of people in an efficient manner in a small number of urban centers, like New York, London, Paris.
And it was pretty helpful for like, the reason I had that response, by the way, wasn't necessarily to look down on all public transportation, because I used to use it to get to high school and to get to school and to get across Toronto, which was sometimes faster than driving.
Montreal has a great subway system.
Montreal and New York. But in Toronto, anyway, it's super sketchy now.
Yeah.
It's like scary to get onto a bus and things. I was on a bus before I left in 2021 with Scarlett in a stroller, and a homeless guy came up and yelled at me, and no one did anything.
Right.
And I yelled at, I was so mad.
That's because the police
yelled right back. I was like, how dare, he was just like, where's your husband? Like super creepy.
Yeah.
I was like, how dare you?
Yeah.
Like get away, which was enough for him to like scutter off or wherever he came from. But
scuttle or skitter.
You don't like Scudder?
Well, I guess that's...
I feel like that scuttered.
Yeah, it's possible. It's certainly possible. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, that updates people. That was enough about Canada, how great it is.
So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen with the college. I mean, something... I know what'll happen. The most stupid... I guess I have one more thing to bitch about. So... Anybody can complain to the college about anything that any college member does. And the Supreme Court of Canada already agreed, in my case, by the way, which is now law, that the colleges can pretty much override the Charter of Rights. So that's good. So that's 1 in 5 Canadians, because they're the ones that are covered by the professional colleges, basically no longer have free speech rights. Oh, that's okay, fundamentally. So now the college is also bound to investigate every complaint. Now, they can decide not to pursue a complaint, which, by the way, is the standard they should have applied to the small handful of complaints from all around the world they received about me. So I'm really curious and would like them to know, or to inform the public, let's say. I know, because they told us, that they've received somewhere between 20,000 and 30,000 complaints about their treatment of me and the unprofessionalism that constitutes, and the violation of their own professional standards. Okay, so do they have a little army of people going through those complaints, or did they just put those in the electronic trash bin and think that, you know, the 20 complaints they've received about me, or 15 or 13 or whatever the hell it is, that counts, but the 20,000 they received about themselves, that's irrelevant? Well, we know the answer to that. The answer is simple for the Canadians who are listening. The colleges can do whatever they want. Right. So if you're the member of a professional organization, you better bloody well remember that. And they're going to make certain that you do remember it. Because if you get out of line in action or word, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. Because you'll be paying through your teeth legal bills, and your reputation will be over, and you'll probably lose your... And all of those things have been aimed at me with, not a spectacular degree of success, but I think they will eventually manage to take my license.
Oh,
and they've all blackened
yeah.
my reputation, because if they do take my license, which is their plan, then I'll be disgraced psychologist Jordan Peterson. And so that's very annoying. And I can see why the other psychologists cower into their corners and remain silent, but I should also tell some people something else. You're going to need the advice of a professional at some point in your life, and they are mandated to lie to you now. And if you're the least bit awake, you may have noticed that professionals are doing quite a bit of lying right now. And so when you have your child who's in trouble at 13 because they've hit puberty and they're sort of dubious about their new body, and you take them to a psychologist and the psychologist says, oh, puberty blockers are just the thing for your young woman, and maybe we can move her onto the surgical track with a little bit of evaluation, and very bloody little, because the rule is if you have a 13-year-old girl and she comes to see a psychologist, the psychologist better say anything you want, dear, including disfiguring and sterilizing surgery, because if they don't, then it's illegal. Right. And so if that's the sort of service you want from your professionals, then just stay asleep.
Ugh. That's horrible. Oh, we do have one more thing to talk about involving Canada.